What's up, everybody? We'll wait for some more people to get in here, and we'll get this started. If you guys have any charts that you want me to look at, just go ahead and post them in chat, and we'll bring them up and do some technical analysis on them. Bitcoin's on a daily chart here. Basically, we are approaching a fib target here of 87.95, and then we are getting close to 9,000, where we have a couple fib targets that are coming together from this fib zone and this fib zone, and so a little bit of a cluster here that we're getting into. We do get oversold, or I'm sorry, we do get overbought once we hit that, and I suspect we'll probably move higher into the upcoming week, and I would suspect that we see some buying coming in overnight on Sunday. That's typically what we've been seeing happen with the Asian and European markets when they open for the week, and generally that sets the tone for the week as well. So if this were to run right up to 10,000, I think, just from a psychological standpoint, 10,000 is probably going to see some resistance, and you could see a pullback. But I do think the pullbacks are diminishing in size, and a lot of that just has to do with network effect. Large part of it is institutional money flows, and I think we are seeing institutional money flows already. We've been talking about that's coming. I think we're starting to see that. The reason why is because if we look at all these times that Bitcoin rolled over, first of all, this move here was kind of a game changer as far as duration and percentage wise. Most pullbacks that were, you would call substantial, I would call that one a substantial pullback. They generally would last 2 to 4 weeks, and you'd be anywhere from I would say 30% to 40%. This one lasted 3 days and was, I think, just made 30%. And then it was bought extremely aggressively and erased the move in literally like the same amount of time, 3 or 4 days, so that it came down. So now we're in a somewhat of a channel that's actually being tested. It broke out of this consolidation here and just went. A lot of people thought Bitcoin, because of the history of Black Friday's typically been bearish for Bitcoin. I think a lot of shorts just got ripped on, so a lot of this too is probably a short squeeze that was happening. But no doubt about it, we are getting toppy. Although this RSI reading here is starting to make any kind of bearish divergent argument kind of mute on the 4 hour. On the daily, we still have one, but it's pretty bullish. So I don't think after this week, I mean, anything can happen. It's Bitcoin. We could even see a move to 10K. I mean, it's completely plausible. You'll have, I mean, you're talking about something that can move $600 or $700 in a day. So, but that would be overbought. Definitely would be expecting a pullback. I would say anywhere from 15 to 20%. I'm calling for smaller pullbacks in percentage terms from here on out. Okay, I'm going to get to some questions now, since we got some people. Can we chart Dash? Brian Ogle, yeah, we can chart Dash. So let me get into my other tab. All right, so Dash, this is an hourly. Dash is trending up. So I mean, if you want to look from a dollar, this is in BTC terms, which is how most of you acquire Dash, is by getting BTC. So you want to see an appreciation in BTC terms. Nice trend line going up here. Are getting a little toppy on the hourly, but they're buying it, and we're in the alt rotation. So I think you're going to see some pretty decent dip buying, and we are currently in a long signal for it. So looking pretty bullish here, actually. If this hourly rotates down, what I'd be looking for is if it gets down to this level here, then I'd be looking to buy, and that would hopefully coincide with this level here on the trend line. That would be a really good setup for swinging on Dash on the hourly. As far as daily goes, so basically what we've done is kind of did a fib retracement bounce and moving up. So now we look at resistance on the daily, and we're right into it. Okay, so basically the way I look at this is that bears are in control right now, even though we're in a kind of a battle between long and short. Bears are in control until we break this 076 level. Okay, we break back above that, close above that, move higher, then it's on. And then your next target, long-term target, is going to be this 0.105. So, you know, and with the current alt rotation, I think we're going to probably be realistic to see that. So you're looking at about a 30% gain on that swing move. Matt Fowler, IOTA. Let's check it out. So on the daily on IOTA, we're in a crypto signal long. Good volume coming into it. See the volume here and here. Looks good. Nice bounce off the fib zone, and we are getting into a daily buy. So IOTA looks pretty bullish here. I think if you were, it's not too late to buy it. But this would have been ideal in this fib buy zone here. If we want to get down to a little bit more granular level on the hourly, starting to put in a bottom here. So the next challenge for it would be the immediate range that it created from here. So it was consolidated and it broke down. Okay. Now it's right up into this short fib zone. So it came up to it, fought it. See, this is pretty bullish to me, because what happens is it came down, it came up. You're going to get a test into these retrace areas. It's going to come down. It made a higher high, and now it's starting to poke above it. So to me, IOTA is a IOTA in BTC terms is a buy here. Hourly starting to turn back down. If you get, it may not reach down to the oversold levels on the hourly as far as this stochastic is concerned, but I think if you get in anywhere in here at this point, this has all the makings of looking like it's going to break higher, and the bears are going to get back in control. Now you will see resistance from where this broke down from. So for example, you may, if you're just looking to swing in and out of these, which I think you're going to be able to do for quite a while here, you're going to be looking at resistance about at the 0001 level for IOTA. So if it breaks above that, then I would look to buy a pullback there. So I'd prefer to grab a swing to here. Kind of depends on your approach, if you want a long-term hold or a short-term hold, but a short-term swing, which I think you can do a lot now that we're starting to get back into the rotation into the alts. And so you could swing up to that, wait for this to resolve. If that breaks out by a pullback, and then you can start looking higher. And on the daily, you know, that's over 100% from our current levels to get to back to prior highs. So, and then you'd be looking at, once you start getting into this, if you are a long-term holder, then you're going to start looking at the larger fib zones, which we're kind of getting into here, and in this big one from the all-time highs. So you clear that area, which should just open that up, and you probably, as long as the alt market stays strong in that amount of time, I think you're probably going to see new highs on IOTA. IOTA, I know, has got a lot of it's well liked among the alt traders, so it wouldn't surprise me if we see new highs. When we see them, probably the first quarter next year would be my guess. Okay, what else we got? LTC, BTC, which one will reach the top first? I don't know what that means exactly, but LTC, BTC, as I put in the video earlier today, it's got a nice bottoming pattern. We are in a long, and the longs, when they fire, can be pretty powerful. We had a long here, and that move was about a 90% move. So currently, we got long into Litecoin earlier, and so most in the room that are trading this stuff are already long Litecoins. And so basically, this one would be a longer hold for me, because I think ultimately what's going to happen is clearing this is going to be a big deal, and then getting back up into this area. But I think that you know, 0.013 is probably an area to consider taking some off and then letting it reload and taking a swing higher. But Bitcoin or Litecoin, you know, it typically, when it starts to run, it runs pretty well, but then, you know, you get these pretty decent pullbacks in it too. So definitely one to, you know, if we do move up to this level, I would be pretty much expecting a pullback at that point. It's just the nature of Litecoin. But I do think Litecoin, for the most part, you know, this becomes a ratio thing. So Litecoin is going to triple digits, I have no doubt about it. But, you know, if Bitcoin's going to rip to 10,000 over the next 4 weeks, then that's going to kind of mitigate the ratio rise. But I do think getting to 0.013 is totally realistic. I just think that would be a time to take some profit and reload later. Joe, not sure what 15 to 20 means when it hits 10K. Can you clarify? Cindy, yeah, I mean, that's not a bad, you know, you're talking about taking profits if Bitcoin takes off again Sunday night. The thing is that we're seeing inflows in everything, which was a key indicator for me as far as what we were looking for to tell us the alts were going to be, you know, it was time to get back in them, because there were buy signals and things like that. But when you're in a prolonged bear downtrend, and a lot of that was because of the fork, doesn't matter. Those bounces are going to be short-lived. So now what we're looking at is short-lived pullbacks. So there might be a pullback, but I don't think I have, you know, like ETH. Let's see, ETH, BTC. You know, we're looking at this heading up into this resistance area at 0.065, 066 area. That would be, I think it's not worth worrying about the smaller stuff. I think that's a realistic target to hold for. Currently, we are pulling back into this little area here, which is based on this hourly zone on Ethereum. I expect that to bounce, and that would be a get us up to 0.062. This dash line would be kind of the area I'd be looking to get out at though for this swing, because like Bitcoin, with the money coming into that, it's gonna be hard to keep up with the velocity of that. Now but I think because everything's been so oversold, the initial over the next 4 to 6 weeks, there's gonna be some good opportunities. So that's where our software, the signaling software, comes in really handy, and also just I use that as one of the tools I use. But we talk about it in the room and stuff like that. So there's a lot of opportunities. So when you're in the room, you can always ask about anything, and we can just do an analysis on the fly. So okay, what else we got? Dash was a buy from a group. Yep. So that's the thing. Some of these cryptos, they can pump. One thing about cryptos, you kind of want to, especially with the alts, if they do get a big spike, that's a great time to take profit. Generally speaking, the spikes in alts they'll generally pull back fairly quickly. So sometimes if you're in an alt, and you might just want to set a limit, sell higher, like 80% higher, just in case there's a crazy spike, you get out, and I guarantee you that's not going to sustain. So just looking up questions, keep them coming. Rich. With smaller and smaller pullbacks, it's hard to decide when to take profits and when do you buy back in. What do you do though? Depends on depends what you're trying to accomplish. If you're trying to build a core position in Bitcoin, which I think is probably the wiser thing to do at this point in time, because we're going from early adoption, or actually early, technically this would be like we're getting out of the early innovator stage into early adoption. And so I think a lot of things are lining up for very bullish 2018. So as far as swing trading Bitcoin, there's opportunities to do it, and I think if you had set aside a specific amount to do that, you can. But if you're trying to build up your core position, you're just going to try to pick technical spots. And no one knows what's going to happen from one day to the next. You just look at where technical spots are, technical patterns that historically repeat, to increase your probability of getting into an ideal spot to buy Bitcoin. So, so like here are these zones here are areas that would signify areas of entry. But as you see in like the 4 hour, and this is something that's changed on Bitcoin, is that as we started to roll over on some of this stuff, like here, that everybody thought it was just going to roll over. That was going to bring this buy zone into play at 7,400 roughly, and it just got bought up. So like right now, I can't even draw a new zone yet until we get some kind of pullback here. It's just been up, 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 up. So we came out of this consolidation and boom. So if this is the top here at 87.50 for the time being, let's just say it's tops out for the day, then, and you want to look at getting into a technical level, then we're looking at that there. So this is right under the prior high of 83.68. So you might get typically you look for bounces at previous highs, but you might get a dip past it. So you're probably going to see some dip buying here at the 8,300 level, would be my guess. Thing with these smaller channels is they're more easily broken. Like this one's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, going on the 6th touch up and down. So it's holding that trajectory pretty well. We are overbought on the 4 hour, and the only thing here, these signals can stay embedded. These you know, you kind of have to look at a lot of different things to kind of get a theme of what you're doing. See, it's embedded here. That's just pinned. So it was overbought here. You thought you were going to pull back, consolidated, and then boom, more buyers came in and just kept it pegged, right? Then you see here we have an RSI bearish divergence here, right? Like that. So RSI didn't make a new high, but price did. So that was a clue of, you know, taking a breather, and then it did. And people right in here is where everybody thought this thing was going to go and dump down into here or lower. But that's the thing that's what I've been telling guys in the room. It's I don't, you know, people, I don't think the corrections like what we see here in this area here, I don't know that we're going to see a whole lot of that heading into the end of the year. I'm seeing, you know, I watch this stuff quite a bit. I watch it on the smaller time frames, and I just see aggressive dip buying coming in. Not to say we're not going to see another 10 or 20% or 25% correction. I'm not saying that. But I'm just saying don't be surprised if we maintain this kind of trajectory. John Bear, get out plans might we be making for stocks? You know, I kind of leave the stock stuff to Bob, but I mean, it's really hard to say when you're in a manipulated market such as the stocks are. I mean, the S&P 500 is paralyzed. I mean, it just doesn't, you know, guys are looking at other things. This is why Bitcoin, this is why Bitcoin is going to be big in 2018. It's a non-correlating asset. And Wall Street knows that the markets are going to correct eventually. Somebody's going to pull the rug. And one thing about Bitcoin, it just doesn't care about what's going on in the world. I mean, you can't, you know, gold goes up usually because the market's in trouble, and vice versa. Gold or Bitcoin is just like a non-correlating asset, and they really haven't had that opportunity to find something like that in quite some time. So they're looking at it from the perspective of managing risk. And look, they have the smartest guys in the room, so they, you know, there's a reason why there's Bitcoin futures. You know, they've studied this thing long and hard, and they see where it's going. So, Michael from Belgium, BTC and LTC go up and down at the same time. That really depends on the climate. Sometimes they'll move inversely. Right now we're having an alt rotation, so we're seeing money come in across the board, which is great. It makes for a lot more trading setups in the room. That being said, you know, you have to take a look. You know, our big picture is like we're probably going to see this run from 8K to 10K by the end of the year or sometime in January. So that's like 20%, and we've already started. You know, now we're $700 into that forecast. Now, if you look at Litecoin, and let's switch it back to a Litecoin dollar discussion. Coinbase. Okay, so nice healthy uptrend, right? We've always said that about Litecoin. Just hasn't grown as fast as Bitcoin. But now you look at here, we're at 85, looking at going to 120. So in percentage terms, you know, that's a better play, right? So to me, you'll probably see more bullishness in the Litecoin to Bitcoin ratio. So if we see Litecoin get up here to this 120, hopefully that coincides with, you know, 0.013 area in Bitcoin. Otherwise, I would probably be looking to take off my Litecoin Bitcoin ratio trade, and then look to buy on a pullback, a larger pullback. But I think Litecoin's got a lot of growth potential. And if they announce something big, I mean, there's already payment channel type things in the works for Litecoin, and they've got Lightning Network. I think Lightning Network is for a large part, is being underestimated. But that's going to have a huge impact for Litecoin as well as Bitcoin. So yes, they both go up and down. My response would be that I think Litecoin has a better upside in percentage terms for the short term up to this 120 level. So that's my read on that. Longer term through 2018, I think you don't stay in it for the whole thing. You got to get in and out. But that's kind of what we focus on in the room, is managing those types of positions. Rich, VTC seems to be headed up this morning. Haven't seen a buy signal yet on the crypto money machine, but TradingView has VTC at 17% up. All right, let's take a look at Vert. Now, the thing you want to keep in mind with the crypto money machine is sometimes you're going to get a signal earlier. You know, your daily signals are kind of like the big bulldozers, right? So, like, for example, here you had a long, when those fire, then you're expecting, like, you know, the money machine, you know, it's really good at, if it fires and the signal doesn't work, it's usually going to get you out at a small to no loss kind of a thing. But I do take notice of when it fires in consolidation, because it usually is pretty good at picking a pop. Now here what I would have been looking at here is just kind of this break of this area here of consolidation higher. So if I saw that long signal, that would have, you know, to me that would have been pretty potent setup, I think. And because crypto, one thing about crypto, you can watch them build up and get out of consolidation, and they just pop. I mean, it's nice thing about crypto is it's kind of a free market, so you get a lot of the really good movements out of that. So as far as Vert right now, Rich, basically what I'd be looking at is a couple things. One is very bullish on the daily as far as technicals go. So what it needs to do, first of all, it needs to get through that there, that level at 6,500. I think it's probably going to run right up to here. Okay, so you could do a quick swing on that now, get into it. The other level is going to be this one here. And actually, this one here, it actually came up and retested this level, then it came back down. Normally, and what's kind of bullish about this is if when you do that, it keeps these downside fit targets in play. But it looks like they're holding the line here at this level. Now, if I was getting long and it broke this level here, I would probably stop out and I would wait for some of this downside stuff to pick up. So, for example, so this is support here. Okay, if it broke that, then it's probably going to hit this fib target. Then I'd be looking at this support area, probably around here, see if that holds. But I don't think we're going to see that. I think it's going higher. Alts are back. So now you did get a nice 4-hour long. See, that's the thing too. Like, we'll talk about this. You know, something might be setting up on the daily. Then I go to look. You go to look at the smaller time frame. So here you had a long fire, and now we're moving up into that. But looks very bullish here, actually. Okay, I'm just looking for more questions here. Stay away from B crash. Yeah, B crash. You know, it's moving down. But guys, you know, here's the thing with that thing too, right? You got Jihan Wu, you've got Roger Ver and those guys, and Roger Ver owns Bitcoin.com, and so as such he can put whatever content he wants in it. Okay, so he's misleading, because Bcash by very definition is an altcoin. Bitcoin comes from the Bitcoin Improvement Protocol. Okay, that's how it evolves and changes, and so they didn't do that. They created a new fork, so it's an altcoin. So he owns Bitcoin.com, and he's telling people Bitcoin Cash is Bitcoin, but it's not. It's Bitcoin Cash, and so it's very misleading. So I tell people that's just, you know, I have a problem with that. You know, if you want to say you have a better alternative to Bitcoin, that's fine, but call it for what it is. But to tell people it's Bitcoin is that's just a flat out falsehood. In your opinion, that's what Bitcoin should be, fine, but it's not. estimating office, are you and Bob going to be tracking and recommending IPO cryptos for us to get into? Yes, we are going to do a service more like a newsletter, but I am very particular about ICOs, and a lot of times what we've been seeing is that you'll be able to pick them up on the secondary market after the ICO for cheaper than the ICO itself. Now, that might change again, but that was the case for a lot of them. It was just like, okay, let them ICO, let them list it. The other thing with that too is if you were unable to get on the ICO because you were in the US, you could pick them up on the exchanges and not deal with the regulations as far as what they had to comply to execute their ICO. But yeah, we will. I'm not going to throw a bunch out there because it's just, a lot of it's not, they're just not, you know, I want to see a good team. I want to see a good use case. I want to see a reason why you need the tokens. I just don't want it to be a proxy for some kind of IPO, that paper IPO like we had in the .com boom era. Image 360. I change my batteries almost every night. Can Bitcoin Cash be traded like normal Bitcoin? Yeah, it can. I'll bring up the chart. You can definitely trade it. I just don't like, you know, I just don't like the whole shenanigans behind it, you know. But see, like, you know, you just get these pump and dumps, right? So this is very typical. If you, after a pump and dump, you might get some sort of push up, but then it rolls over. So technically speaking, for example, on the daily, right, if you wanted to swing this, you're going to be looking at that area there to buy right here. And then that would give you a swing target of 0.25. But if it crashes through that, then, you know, we're probably going to get down to maybe this moving average area down here of, what is that, 0.113. You know, the other thing too we see with forks is, you know, some people will get tired of being in them and they'll just get back out, and then you see the market cap flow back into Bitcoin. Because right now, if you add up all the market caps of the forks, Bitcoin Cash and Bitcoin Gold, and this newer one, Bitcoin Diamond, I mean, we're already over 10,000 in Bitcoin related blockchains. So if those forks weren't there, then the you know, more than likely we already hit 10K in Bitcoin with the market cap. So yeah, if you go and you look at Bitcoin Cash on the 4-hour, we did have a long signal fire that did create a move up, but again, on a smaller time frame, I'd be looking for this area here. That would have to hold. If that doesn't break down, then this would be the next area. So you can trade it. It's like anything else, but then on the 4-hour, as far as a bull or a bear, bears would be in control, and if they pop above this 20, say 0.21, if it got back above 0.21, then the bears or the bulls are running again. And then you're looking at these upside targets of 0.23 and 0.25. But it has this big bear zone fib that ultimately resolves down to 0.043. And that's probably where it really realistically is evaluated at. There's no economy with Bitcoin Cash. It's just whatever volume there is just speculative trading. There's no economy. They're not, you know, you can't do much with it. Can Bitcoin Cash be traded? Like, okay, it's 100K. What should I do? 12th hour, 100K. What? Do you have 100K you want to invest? Are you asking if Bitcoin got to 100K? What do you do? Clarify that for me. Mafale, yep. A lot of guys, the Korean pump and dump that night, I guarantee you those guys lost money. They couldn't get out. The Korean exchange they were using a pump from locked up, and they just got torched. But you know, that was pretty ambitious, thinking you were going to flip an 8-year-old economy. I don't know. I think they saw the Bitcoin futures coming, and they were trying to last gasp attempt to try and control. This is all about centralized control for these guys. Okay, these guys like Roger and Ji Hanwoo, their big block philosophy doesn't scale well. I mean, it can for a short term, but if your solution is big blocks and you want to scale to millions or billions of people with micro and nano transactions, that means you have to have bigger and bigger and bigger blocks. And all it does is leads to centralization, because now you have nodes that have to have a blockchain so large that you couldn't run a node at your house. They need to be run at data centers. No, that's not what Bitcoin's about. Savannah, I want to invest in Bitcoin, but waiting for a dip since the past week, but the BTC is only going up. What are the chances that it goes down, and what might be the course? Well, as I have said in the room a lot, I don't know that we're going to see a lot of pullbacks going forward. In fact, I just had this discussion with one of the members the other day. So what you need to do is you're going to have to just come to the understanding that you're going to be looking for smaller pullbacks, and you may go underwater on a 20 or 25% pullback if it happens. Okay, so but you have to just ask yourself, what do you want to do? Do you want to be in Bitcoin? Are you more worried about being in Bitcoin? Or are you more worried about optimizing your entry? I think in 6 months time, whether you got in here at 8,700 or got a pullback at 8,200 will mean very little. But I get it. Some guys want to sniper their entries, and we definitely do that in the room. It just takes patience. But you know, you're going to be looking at smaller pullbacks. So may even want to go to the hourly chart. Now, hourly is toppy, right? So, and actually we're starting to see some bearish divergence. So it doesn't surprise me if this tops out here, you know, we see a pullback, and I would be looking at this right now if I was trying to get into it. Okay, I'd be looking from this point of consolidation to here. All right, and so this fib buy zone, whoops, so this area here of 8,400 or so, which is crazy because we were just there a few hours ago. But yeah, I mean, that right in here in this prior top, you know, if we pulled back to that, that'd be like no big deal. You know, we almost hit 8,800. I mean, they're just, the thing's on a tear right now. So it is getting toppy. We are definitely getting into the range where it starts to, historically starts to get to overbought levels that do lead to larger corrections. But once you start approaching these bigger levels, these big round number levels, they kind of become like a tractor beam. So like 10 grand, if we start moving higher, you might just have people just going along expecting that this thing's just going to go up to 10 grand and pull back. And maybe that's what we do. We just blitz up to 10 grand and we have like a 20-25% correction. That's totally plausible. But also being totally plausible is coming from here and moving back down into this channel and then bouncing back higher. So you kind of have to have running themes, and you have to see statistically and technically what things are happening. Technically we're overbought right here, but that doesn't mean you can stay overbought, or you know what I mean, you can go higher. You can stay in these overbought conditions and go higher. On the weekly for Bitcoin, we can take a look at that. Actually, let's do that. See, here's the thing. Bitcoin topped out on the weekly here, and then we had that pullback. This was that whole Bcash weekend, and then bullish engulfing. So I mean, that is like this weekly, and this is what I kept wrestling with, is because this weekly candle is so bullish, and it's the biggest weekly candle ever in the history of Bitcoin. I mean, there just hasn't been a weekly candle ever that big, ever. We had a low of 58.50 and a high of 80.98. All right, so I mean, that's just, it was just a monster candle. That, and all monster weekly candles almost always have follow through. You know, a candle like this, or like this, or like this, those were all really big weekly candles prior, and they all had follow through 1, 2, 3 weeks, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 weeks. So this is what I mean. It's like, and the other thing too is, like, when you have a really crazy move, you'll see this, you'll see the Stokes recharging and going down as it's moving up. So we could actually get into a buy signal again with this to push it higher. So I just say, don't underestimate a lot of, you know, sometimes you have to recognize when things could go into an oversold or embedded condition on the technicals, and this is one of those times where I think it sets up for that. That's why I think if you're looking to get in, focus on the hourly pullbacks. All right, that's just my read, but I think that's where we're going. That's the phase we're in right now with Bitcoin. Alpha Robbins, we're just talking crypto. If you got any questions, if you want us to look at a coin, do some TA on, we will. We're just kind of doing an open house today. Normally Bob and I have a discussion, but he couldn't make it today, so we just figured we'd just open up and do a Q&A. But this is the kind of stuff our subs get. They can ask us anything and have us evaluate anything, and so just kind of showing you what we do. Estimating office, okay. Yeah, as far as what's going to happen is that when we get major signals on stuff, we're going to signal those out via the Twitter feed. And so if it's a long-term hold, or like what we consider our core position, then we're going to say that this is a core position. So that means get in there. It's a major level. Don't worry about it going lower. It's for a longer-term hold, because, you know, as we teach, you want the core holdings, and then you want you know, you can have your alt holdings and your swing, you know, your swing trades that you may allocate some for swing trading. So yeah, any major signals, if you didn't get the signals or set up for Twitter, then hit up info@tradegenius.co and they'll get you taken care of. OMG and NEO popped up too. Should we swing trade it for BTC before Sunday? Well, Cindy, let's go take a look at those two. By the way, those are long term. Like NEO, okay, you got to understand, NEO is, you know, the nickname for that is the Chinese Ethereum. I like anything with a good exposure to China. So I like those for long-term holds. Now, that's not to say you can't swing them, because they're very swingable. All right. And I think NEO, while other things have been taking off quite a bit, you know, you'd be better off swing trading other things at the moment. I think this is putting in quite a good base. And I think that, so this is the daily. So it has some work cut out for it. And actually, technically, what I would do at this point is I would take, now this is good. So yeah, so we're right inside of the fib buy zone, and the target on that is 0.007. Now, the thing with NEO, kind of my guidepost on NEO, whoops, is this trend line here. That thing is was always a magnet for NEO. Got overbought, sold off, but as you can see, there's great movement in NEO, and you know, currently the bears are in control, and currently all these downside targets of 0.0017 and 0.00051 technically are still in play. However, you got to look at the environment, and we're putting in a bottom. Now, one could argue that we might be putting in a fairly large inverted head and shoulders, and we talk about this in the room. So that would be the left shoulder, this would be the head, and then price may break through these levels, hit this, come back down, base, and then go higher, and then that would be your right shoulder. Okay, so that would be one big gigantic bottoming pattern, which would be super bullish. Ultimately, I would like to see NEO run up to this backside of this trend line. That would be a great spot to take profit, buy a pullback on that, and then break through that. It's got its challenges ahead from a technical standpoint, but that's kind of what the way I see it here. So you got a bigger head and shoulders forming. You also have kind of a smaller head and shoulders. I kind of like those two when you have a head and shoulders within a head and shoulders. And so like this right side shoulders forming. So now that's on a daily, right? So you know that's going to take care of the bigger moves. If we want to look at the 4 hour, we have a long firing on our Trade Genius crypto money machine indicator. Last time it fired here, we got a nice squirt higher. And you know, on these signals that you get, guys, you don't always have to wait for the exit signal. In fact, most times I don't recommend waiting for that, because depending on the instrument and the volume, it affects when those fire. So I always trail up the stop, or you have like a preset percentage or a preset technical spot that you're looking for. But we are long here, so I do expect NEO to make a move here within the next, I would say next 1 to 2 days actually. Probably see a pop on that. All right, switch over to OMG. These are all in Bitcoin terms, guys. Let's look at the daily on OMG. All about busting through. Once we get above this level here of this 00125, then I think we're gonna see some really good moves to the upside on this one. Right now we're consolidating in this triangle here. I expect this to break out. So, and I expect this fib zone to break too. So, ultimately, for me, would be looking at getting right. For me, this would run up right into this fib zone, this bearish fib zone. I don't think it's going to have much of a problem doing that. If we look at the volume profile, this is on the daily. Wait for it to load up here. Just taking its sweet time. What's nice about the volume profile is you can see where all, like, you know, the volume ledges, if you will, are. That kind of shows you where a lot of the support and resistance can be. Not necessarily visible on your traditional volume histograms that you have down here. So volume profiles will load up on the side here, just taking forever to load. While we're waiting for that, this is your Bitcoin moon chart, and it's really bullish. 2019 January would take us to about the 6-figure range. All right, so you got to consider this has gotten steeper from this area, and if this trajectory goes up, it's gonna make this I'm gonna have to redraw it. But currently, you know, this is because of the unique supply of Bitcoin. There's just not enough. They only make 1,800 a day, and if a lot of money starts to flow heavy into it, at some point you have to think, if there's a lot of accumulation going on, you might have an issue where can the actual production output keep up with the demand, and that's where you might see some parabolic moves. So, okay, well, this isn't loading yet. I don't know why, but in any case, OMG looking to move higher, and I think it's going to bust out of that consolidation. I'll see if I can get this thing to load one more time. It's just not doing it. Try the 240, see if that works. Not doing it. Okay, I don't know what OMG's problem is, but oh, there we go. Yay. Okay, so yeah, it's just, I don't know why, it's just being super sluggish. But you can see there's a lot of volume. Okay, here we go. So what I was saying was there's a lot of volume accumulated here in this area. So once we break above this area of this bear fib zone, you know, that's where, relatively speaking, volume, this can move pretty quickly through this spot. This is why I'm saying I think it's just going to run back up to that level. So okay, let's see what else we got. Rich, do you have to move all of your Bitcoin somewhere fast to get the allocation? It seems difficult to move it and then get it, etc. What is the best thing to do there? Rich, what allocation are you talking about? John, might Lisk make other alts obsolete? If so, what? And should Lisk be treated as a core hold position? No, Lisk wouldn't make other alts obsolete. Lisk is like a competitor to Ethereum. And I like Lisk better because of the modular nature of it. So for example, when you have things that happen like on Ethereum where they had the DAO incident where bad coding allowed funds to get stolen, they had to fork the entire Ethereum blockchain, and that's a slippery slope for me. That's the whole point of blockchains, is to be immutable and not do that. And you need that to mean centralization to be able to do that. Now, Bitcoin, so decentralized, you just can't, you can't do that. But Bitcoin's a little bit of a different animal in that you don't run applications on it. You can, but wasn't designed per se for that. So Ethereum, if they were built more like a Lisk chain where each application has a modular side chain, then whatever problem that they had, if the bad coding happened there, it's just contained to that chain. They would never ever have to fork the main chain. So I do like Lisk for that purpose. Lisk just needs some use case. They need to have some real world applications. Ethereum's got so much commercial backing on it, so that's kind of like, like it or not, that's, it's going to cause that thing to go up in value. But Lisk, that's why I put out that video. They're a deal away, because I think if they do start to gain some traction, I think it's a good project. I think the design of the blockchain for Lisk is great, but would it be a core hold position? No, I think it'd be, if anything, it'd be a speculative position at this point until we saw some traction. But I think it will appreciate. Excuse me. I think it will appreciate in value over the course of the next few weeks, months, as the alt bull returns. So it's definitely a legit project. So it has potential. In fact, we can look at Lisk real quick. Yeah, so I was talking about, this area here of support really needs to hold this. Otherwise, trading wise, you'd be looking at a return to this trend line, which I think would be a great spot to pick some up if it did dip down there. I don't think it would stay down there very long. But it's starting to weigh heavy on this buy zone, so I'd be a little bit leery of any breaks below that here at this point. Rich, for diamond allocation, depends where you had your Bitcoin. So if you had your Bitcoin on a wallet, if you had your Bitcoin on a Trezor wallet or Ledger wallet, I don't think they've come out. Well, actually, I take that back. Ledger did say that they're evaluating it, and they want to make sure it's they were kind of like just saying, we want to make sure it's a thing. So I think it's proven it's a thing. They're listed on exchanges and it's trading. My guess is they'll come around and they'll give you your allocation. At what price will Bitcoin Diamond be? I have no idea. To me, with these forks, it's like everything that's already out in existence will accomplish what they're setting out trying to do. So my mind is just, if you can get them, if you can get rid of them at a decent value, then do so, convert it into Bitcoin, and that's where you're going to see, you know, all your growth long term. Alfred Dale, only currency in use is still normal Bitcoin. Yeah, I mean yeah. There's, you can buy things with it. You can go to overstock.com and buy things with it. But Litecoin too. Litecoin, they're setting up payment channels in Asia. There's places that there's actually shops, online shops that will accept Litecoin. I don't have the URL handy, but they exist, and I think they're based out of Japan. Omisigo, OMG, you know, I like them because they're doing stuff. You can actually do payments with the OMG network in Asia. At some McDonald's, they have set that up, and they're making inroads. They're going to be a payment channel, and that was one of the things I said was probably key, is getting along on some of these projects that are going to be payment channels. Litecoin is definitely a payment channel. The Lightning Network, which, you know, you're not going to get an ICO for the Lightning Network, but that's going to complement Bitcoin and Litecoin for payment channels. OMG will be a payment channel. You know, Dash, I think is making some moves, but it's yet to be seen. I think Dash is, I think it's a little overvalued here personally. I think Litecoin's undervalued. So if I were to if somebody said, what do I, you know, I'd probably be into Litecoin before Dash. Dash on a pullback's probably okay, but so that's you know, currency. You know, you got to look at currency as far as crypto. What can you transact in? So, you know, you can transact in Bitcoin. You can transact in Litecoin. And you just have to look. But there's other places that'll take other different currencies too. So. All right, let's see what else we got here. Estimating office, I have a problem with exchanges. I can't get verified by Coinbase, GDAX, Gemini, Poloniex, Bittrex. I do not know what is wrong, and none of them will reply to help for 3 weeks. I am only able to buy limited on Coinbase. Estimating office, all these guys are just completely smashed from all of the influx of new users. And yeah, across the board, the tech support, the technical support, customer support is just bad. The other exchange you might want to try, and I don't think their customer service is any better, but would be trying to get set up on Kraken. But you know, these guys are signing up probably hundreds of thousands of users every month. The growth rate right now for exchanges is just exploding. It has been for a few months, but the problem is that they can't, you know, when you have to deal with regulations like KYC, which is know your customer, or AML, which is anti-money laundering, you know, these are regulations that they have to adhere to. So hiring the personnel to manage that and actually do that verification process, they can't just, you know, they can't just throw anybody in that chair to do that. So they got to make sure it's being done properly and the people are trained properly. So it's not an easy fix. I do know Coinbase has a support number. I don't know what that is, but they do have live phone support now. I don't know if getting through to that is even remotely feasible at this point. Let me see if I can find it. Okay, so check this out. There you go. Coinbase phone support. Maybe you can try that number. All right. I don't know if that's going to work, but 8 a.m. Well, it's not going to help today, but Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. Pacific, you probably want to be queued up to get in there right at 8 a.m. and see if you can do that. And like it says here, you can it deals with ID verification issues, limit increases. That's probably what you're looking for. Try that route. No easy answer though, unfortunately. Everybody's slammed. John Bear, what does it mean that institutional money is about to flood by BTC, and what does this mean for alts? So what that means is primarily for BTC or Bitcoin. They don't really care about the alt market too much. It's all about, and that's why I said you want to be picking your spots when to be in alts and when not to be in alts. Okay. Some are going to be okay long term, some are not, because they're just going to have a hard time keeping up with the velocity of Bitcoin. So you have all this institutional money. What I mean by that are hedge funds that have filed. There are over 100 hedge funds that have made filings that they are going to get into the crypto space. And you know, right now it's all about the Bitcoin. There are actually derivatives coming online for Ethereum too. So Ethereum will be exposed to institutional money. So institutional money, they have to deal in larger chunks. You know, they're looking at like a minimum of like $300 million, you know, chunks, right? They don't deal with, you know, they're just large amounts of money. So we haven't really seen much of that in 2017. We are going to see much of that in 2018. And so, you know, people are like, well, man, can Bitcoin double now? Down is at 9,000. Yeah, it can. We haven't seen the flows yet, real money flows. So I think that gets dismissed, and I think that it's just going to manifest itself in 2018 when it does happen. They're not stupid. They're not gonna, you know, they know there's a limited supply, so they're gonna. But that's what when I'm looking at like the 4-hour chart, I see Bitcoin, and now I start seeing where typically in the past that would have rolled over and would have turned into a larger correction. All of a sudden, there's this buying that comes in. So I think they're accumulating here. I really do. Do you see any altcoin or coins ever getting up into the 10,000 range? I think if we see that, I think it's going to be a few years out, and I think then you can start talking to me about a bubble. But you'd have to also look at some of the leaders in the space. So, I mean, that's a very high valuation at 10K. I think that's ambitious for any alt, but currently as it stands, you'd probably be looking at something in the top 10 of altcoins that would possibly be able to do that. But that would imply, because of the supply, see Bitcoin, the thing with Bitcoin, it only has 21 million, but you know, all these other coins have a lot more. LITECOIN's 4 times that. Ethereum has an inflation mechanism, so you know, it keeps creating Ethereum. So those dynamics are going to limit the type of valuation they get because of the amount of coins that are in circulation, right? So their market cap, that, you know, the calculation on that's going to be for a lower, I think, target for as far as like how high they can go. So like for Litecoin, I think you see like a $1,200–1,500 Litecoin, that's probably getting juicy. You know, I think that would probably, getting much higher than that would imply a really big market cap for what do they have, 84, 85 million coins or whatever it is on Litecoin. So 10,000 for an altcoin, and maybe it's an altcoin we haven't seen yet, but the amount of circulating supply is going to be a big factor in an individual price. Burton Boy, what would be a good core hold? I've always stuck with Bitcoin, Ethereum, and Litecoin. I think that they have, because you have to look at the development behind it too, and so obviously Bitcoin has like an awesome developer team. Ethereum's got huge, you know, a huge commercial backing. So there's a lot, not just of the Ethereum, but the Ethereum, you know, the applications that run on Ethereum or the ERC tokens that are created. But you know, it's going to create a demand for having Ethereum. So I don't think that's going anywhere. I think Litecoin is extremely undervalued. I don't think that's going anywhere. Some of these other ones like Dash probably are going to be around for a while. Things like Monero, you know, and I'm just talking out loud here, but Monero, the thing with Monero, like they're, you know, so here's a case where you might not consider it a core hold because, you know, its claim to fame is anonymity, encrypted transactions. But guess what? You can basically develop that for most of anything. And Litecoin and Bitcoin are working on confidential transactions, which I'll do a video here one of these days on. And essentially that just is going to accomplish what Monero does. So if you've got a single use case for a coin, then and it's being accomplished with other coins that have other uses, then you're probably that's kind of bearish for that coin. Not to say you can't, you know, trade Monero and it's not going to go up. It probably will have swing trading opportunities, but for a core hold, something like that, I would question. So you just want to, in the room and in the courses, we kind of lay out what are kind of the core things. It's not just those three. There's others, but and then it changes too. So it's, you know, crypto space is very dynamic. But if you were to you know, essentially, if you had those, I don't think you'd go wrong in the crypto space, especially over the next 24 months. Would Litecoin be a good core hold? Yeah, I went over that. I think it's undervalued, and I think it's going to 120 or thereabouts. IOTA, we covered. IOTA's a buy right now. LISC is... IOTA, I think, has potential to go up. LISC, it's going to depend on kind of network effect and if they're going to get traction on a project. LISC right now is at a technical level where we would buy, but it's kind of sagging on it, so it might head down. We covered it earlier, so when we post the replay, you guys can check it out. How is Bitcoin Gold looking? Is it going to keep falling? I think it is, but I also think those guys are a bunch of, you know, play a bunch of shenanigans. So I think the problem there is you may have periods where they try to pump it, but you know, it's going to get costly. That last one I know cost them money because of what happened. So I don't know. We'll see. But personally, again, I think they tried to one last shot before the Bitcoin futures thing took over. But it's just a centralized scheme, and it's just not something that, you know, Bitcoin, the way Bitcoin is devised in its decentralization network, that's really what it's about. And the way that they're going about Bitcoin Cash is just kind of shady and centralized. Then I fundamentally don't like that. POWR is a long-term hold. POWR is interesting because they're a first mover in that space. Okay, so if you guys didn't see the POWR video, you can go ahead and watch it. It's on our channel. But basically, you know, they're trying to bring renewable energy trading to the blockchain platform. So they're a first mover in a niche. I really like that. They are actually rolling out product in Australia in the renewable energy market. So essentially, like if you have a photovoltaic panels on your roof, and you're, you know, normally what happens is if you have a surplus, you sell it back to the utility company, and then they credit you. But what they're saying is, well, maybe you might get a better deal if you cut out the middleman. And so through the use of smart meters, you can talk to other people with the same technology, and you guys could trade your power. All right, so it makes for a more efficient marketplace, and I think that's pretty intriguing. Whether or not they can break through, you know, utility companies are pretty powerful. They're, you know, usually the case is they've been around for a long time, if not hundreds of years. So, you know, the challenge, it's an ambitious project. The challenge will be, can they break into that market? Now, they do have a team that is from that market, and they're a pretty talented group. So it'll be interesting to see what happens. The other side of it too, and that's just one facet. They've got other things that go on. I mean, you really have to look at the website, powerledger.io. But, you know, the other thing is that you can buy assets. So an asset would be like a battery farm, a wind or sun farm. And so you could take your power tokens and buy into a new asset allocation. And then also, so you'd be, at that point, you'd be a part owner, and you'd also be you would also be entitled to revenue stream. So your tokens could earn a return, which I love those models. You know, that's, Neo has that model with the gas. You know, you earn gas on the Neo you hold. Populous aims to do that. You'll get a return on your tokens when you do invoice lending on their platform. So that, you know, those are really good use cases. So I think it's a short-term hold. Longer term will really depend, you know, because the alt bull market's going to come and it's going to go. So they have to be a mover. They have to gain traction. It's all about that. So I can't say it's a long-term hold at this time, but I do think you'll have some opportunities. In other words, it's not going to pump and dump. There's actually some utility case there. So I think it's worth a short-term hold for sure. What are your views on paying taxes on your crypto gains? You need to talk to your CPA. That's all I can say on that. My views are meaningless because I'm not a tax advisor. My views are you got to pay your taxes, you know. So, but consult your CPA. What are your views? Let's see. Okay. What are my views or thoughts on civic adoption? I don't know. I really don't. It's going to be, you know, that's a space that's going to have a lot of competition. So I like looking at things that have kind of a niche or looks like they're going to be, you know, they're going to have the adoption. With civic, I just don't know. Not to say it's not tradable. I mean, we can look at that. See, civic is just kind of like really, like just like this is a 4-hour chart, but you know, like okay, so it is bottoming. I'll give it that. It's bottoming, but it doesn't. Civic's never really excited me. Very bearish chart. But that being said, if you picked up some here at historically cheap prices, you know, considering the way alts move and the crypto space moves, I mean, you could probably see some pretty decent percentage gains. But you know, I don't know. Civic doesn't really excite me a whole lot, I'll be honest. Just a very bearish chart. I mean, if you wanted to speculate and throw some money at it, you could in these levels. I mean, it's pretty much rock bottom. I don't know if it's lower than ICO. I don't remember what the ICO was on it, but I don't know. It doesn't excite me. I think the space is crowded. They'd have to start making some deals and get some traction for me to look at it, and I'd like to see a chart that shows me a clear bottom. I just don't see that. What's your take on EOS? EOS has popped. I actually had some EOS at some time, but I just finally got out of it. The thing with EOS, you know, they're like, okay, you're going to get an ERC20 token. We're going to aim to make our own type of blockchain, and then we'll convert your tokens over to that. So, you know, that remains to be seen what's up. From a technical standpoint, you know, this again was another very, very bearish chart. We're finally getting into where it looks like there's some signs of life, and so, you know, technically speaking, off of this trend line would probably be a buy. You're definitely a buy on the daily. As far as a long-term hold, though, I don't know, you know, but you can definitely trade it. So, looks like it's coming into a buy zone. Probably off of this trend line would probably be a sensible spot to get long if you were looking to swing trade it. Okay, Phil, what's your strategy for scaling in and scaling out of trades? Would you recommend selling everything when your targets are reached or scaling in and out? Scaling in and out, again, depends on what type of trading you're trying to do. If you are trying to build a position, and that means like a core position that you're going to hold for a long time, like say for Bitcoin, then legging in is going to be, you know, you have to, let's just say you have an amount that you want to allocate to Bitcoin. Then like one approach I like to do is breaking it up into 4 parts, okay? And that way you're kind of dollar cost averaging, because you know, no one knows the future, no one knows exactly where the bottoms are going to be and stuff like that. So best thing you can do is find technical levels with high probability entry spots and are following price patterns that repeat. And that's what we call out in the room a lot when I work with people one-on-one, you know, as far as where they enter. You know, big advantage to being in the room is getting that, you know, one-on-one technical support when you need it. Or we'll just talk about levels in the room to be in. But that's my approach. If you're swing trading, if it's a swing trade, I personally like to just probably get in all at one level. But then, you know, you want to start moving. Like if you get a 20 or 30% gain, you kind of want to lock in some of that. So you could say, well, I'm going to sell half of my position and trail up a stop. So it might be like the prior low, like you might pull up an hourly chart and do like a prior low and move your stop. Half of it would stop out at that point and lock in those gains. So that's one way to do it. But for swing trading, that would be my approach versus a long-term entry. Okay, should I keep my LTC or sell now? LTC, I think, is going. You can sell it now and lock in gains, but I think personally, I would be holding it up to 0.013. Or if it gets to about 100, somewhere between $115 and $120, I would trade back out of that. Thanks for sharing your knowledge. You're welcome, Nathan. Anytime. We do these usually on the weekend. Usually we're talking about certain topics, but today we just kind of opened it up for Q&A. Just looking here, guys. Has sub been covered? Not sure if I missed it. Sub. S-U-B? I'm not sure what that is you're looking for. Maybe you can clarify. Or maybe that was a typo. I don't know. Joe, any other ways to add to your BTC stack besides buying outright? Mining's kind of not really feasible at home. Although some of the newer mining rigs are pretty powerful, and with the price that BTC is at, you could actually be profitable for a little bit. But by the time you go through the rigmarole of setting it up, and you also have to remember too, it's a mining machine, so make sure your electricity is solid. There's been fires with those things. Not that, you know, the machines are built really well. I've ran them before, but buying it outright is probably the most feasible thing. And then, you know, trading the alt ratio to build up your core position if that's what you're interested in. There's also loaning too, which we will discuss in the room, and there's certain parameters for that we like, and but that's a whole nother discussion. Okay, so the last real dude, as I've said a lot of, if you watch the videos or follow the channel, and if you don't, go ahead and subscribe, because I'm doing videos every day pretty much on crypto. But essentially January is on the radar now for 10,000 Bitcoin. Okay, and we've been saying that for a while. And we have another chart. This is my log chart that I have. If we look at in the month of January, you know, this is kind of like your margin of error for growth rate. This is a logarithmic chart using a price fork channel, and so Bitcoin's been basically playing in the upper half of this channel. So when you get into January, you know, you're basically, this upper half of this channel is well into the 10,000 mark by then. So even if we had to pull back to this midline, you're at just the first week of January or February. You know, you're right around 10 grand. End of January into February. So I think until price tells us differently, this is the trajectory that we're looking at. Thanks, guys. Appreciate it. Supplement pushing ethos. Your thoughts? Not really on my radar, to be honest. Is ETN on your radar? No, but we can look at it from a technical standpoint. I'm not going to look up stuff that isn't I won't, if we can't bring it up on TradingView, I'm not going to do TA on it. Funfair coin, yes, I think Funfair coin has potential. Most of those gaming tokens, Edge is another one, EDG. Again, it's going to be a matter of who's going to gain traction. Fun is at a pretty historically low level, but it's had some moves, and I don't know why, but like the charts are super laggy. Well, let's look at a daily. So it's been, it had some nice pops in it, and I think so it can move, right? But we need to see a bottom put in, and I just, maybe this is a bottom here, but what I'd like to see is, I'd like to see this trend line, and that is not what I wanted. So this trend line here, I want to see that break. If that breaks, then I'm going to say, okay, now we got something to play with. On a daily basis, you want to see this area hold here. Okay, so like a pullback to 250. If you were trying to get long, that would be like the pinpoint spot to do it. But to answer your questions, yeah, that and like Edge, EDG, same trip. I thought Edge was really just, that was a monster move. I think with any of these tokens too, if you see like that, get out, because you're going to be able to reload on always. And again, Edge. And Edge is doing a lot of things. Like they have a pretty good team. They're going to different conferences and things like that. So I see more on the development side. Not to say Fun isn't doing it too, but I just seems like Edge is more active. And those are the guys that are probably going to see some traction. So, yeah, this could probably move from 83.30 up to the 14,000 Satoshi level. So it's a pretty healthy move if it can do that. And I think it can, personally. What we need to do is, so right now you're consolidating. So we're going to wedge, or pennant, if you will. And we need to see how that resolves. But if you get a breakup out of that, then that's very bullish, and that's what I'd be looking for on Edge. And then for Fun, again, comes back to, this is a daily. You need to break that trend line and get higher. Okay, but I think they have potential. I think that's a huge space, so might be worth a speculative hold. See. You could be surprised at the gains you get, but I wouldn't allocate a whole bunch to it, just because it's just hard to see. Unfortunately, when something gains traction, then it's already, the big gains have been gone. But anytime you're in a situation like this, you don't know which one's going to take off, so it's kind of a lotto play. So I just, money can be working for you elsewhere and better known entities like Bitcoin, Litecoin, Ethereum, things like that. So that's my take on that. Top 5 cryptos to invest in. Look, you can look at the top 10 at Coin Market Cap, and I think they all have potential. I think Dash is really performing pretty well. I think it's getting ahead of itself. Monero, out of the top 10, would probably be my least favorite, only because its claim to fame is going to get challenged by coins that can do what it claims to do plus more. So that one probably out of the top 10 doesn't excite me. Bitcoin Cash doesn't excite me. Ripple doesn't excite me. Ripple, there's so much of it out there, and it's not, Ripple will have its moments where, you could probably swing trade it, but
Bitcoin Gold, that's a joke. Don't like it. It's just a speculative play. QTUM's got some things going on. That's probably, you know, worth looking at. OMG, worth looking at. Anyway. Hey Phil, the difficulty now is to have our alt wins catch up with BTC wins, but seeing that alts are bullish right now, would you support lowering our core holdings and diversifying into swing trade? That's entirely up to you and what you want to do as far as your risk appetite. But probably the easiest thing is to say, okay, I want to take X amount and allocate it to speculation or alt trading. And you're going to have to just accept that if for whatever reason you didn't stop out or you decided to hold longer and it's going against you, you have to accept that you might lose some in Bitcoin terms. But you have to be very disciplined in that, okay? And so that's in the room, we help take care of that stuff. Mention the video, the quick swing opportunities in Dash, Invert, and IOTA. Yeah, so again, I think the way to play a lot of the alt rise is to get in and out. I think there's a few that you could probably hold through long term because it's going to grow because of the space they're in and things like that. But I think you're better off if you want to build up your core holdings. You're going to swing trade, and so that's what being in the room and getting those signals. That's a big key. Formerly Bitcoins. I don't know what you're talking about there. Image 360. Mike Hitch, was the moon landing faked? I don't know. Is the Earth flat? Hi Phil, is Pro going to come back? Pro. Let's look at Pro. Mike Hitch, one thing I can tell you is that if Bitcoin goes to the moon, which is in the upper right corner, that won't be fake. But no, I don't think the moon landing was fake. Pro. Dean, Proppy, I can't chart it on TradingView because it's probably just on Ether Delta. And Proppy, I don't know. I've looked at it a little bit. Again, it's a traction thing. That's a speculative play at this point. Important, what Twitter account do you post for specific crypto updates, buying swing trades? Okay, so basically if you join up, we have a specific Twitter handle. There's a couple of them because we not only do crypto, we also do very super high percentage binary option trades. Like we're talking our current record on that is 50, something like 54 and 3, I think, like that, and that's all verifiable. And so there's 2 that we give out for that, and then my Twitter handle, which I will just I do throw out some swing in basically on my main Twitter that I do publicly. I'll focus on kind of just the 3: Ethereum, Litecoin, Bitcoin, and some other crypto related stuff, but I'll put my Twitter handle on here on chat. That real dude, long term, 5 years plus, wild speculation on current top 5 coins. Man, it's hard to say. I think Bitcoin's 6 figures, Litecoin's probably 4 figures, ETH is 4 figures, but any other alt getting to 5 figures, I think, is just because of the supply dynamic. So I think you'll have some in 4 figures for sure, and Bitcoin at 6 figures in 5 years. So is there any other questions that you guys have?
We've gone about, normally we do this for an hour, we're at about an hour and a half. The other thing I wanted to tell you guys real quick, and then if you guys don't have anything else, we'll wrap up. Mining, you know, a lot of the contention right now with Bitcoin is that one particular company is really controlling a lot of the hardware market, and that's Bitmain. But Halong Mining is coming out with a new miner that's going to be about 20 to 30% more efficient or faster than what Bitmain has. There's also another one called the eBit E10. This is from a company called eBang, also Chinese, and they have broken the 10 nanometer barrier, so they're going to be able to create another. So basically, there's more competition coming for Bitmain, and I think that's a really good thing for decentralizing mining. And there also is a Japanese company, but I don't think they're coming out till first quarter, that that will also be producing equipment. So I think that's a really great positive for the Bitcoin ecosystem. But these Dragon Mint machines look pretty hot. Unfortunately, they're not coming out till Q1 of next year, so can't really. They are doing some. I mean, there are some in production. They do have some out. They've rolled out some, but for mass production and for retail, it won't be till Q1 next year. So depending on the Bitcoin price, you could go to bitcoinwisdom.com, look at their calculator, and then you could see if it's something that would be viable for you. But like I said, most of the time with the rate of difficulty increasing, you're just going to want to buy Bitcoin outright and not deal with the hassle. Thank you, Cindy. In Bittrex, is there any benefit in trading the Ethereum and USD, not just the Bitcoin? In Ethereum and USD, not just Bitcoin. You know, here's the thing: is like everything is measured in Bitcoin terms, and so like some of these. Okay, so some of the tokens like can only be purchased through Ethereum. I get that, but usually, if that's the case, they're not on the exchanges. If Bittrex takes it on, you're going to be able to trade with Ethereum or Bitcoin. I don't think they do. I don't think they just do Ethereum only tokens. There are Bitcoin only tokens, but so I like, as much as possible, I like to think of things in Bitcoin terms, because otherwise you're looking at, if you are looking at Ethereum terms, what's been happening is you might be up in Ethereum terms, but Ethereum is down in Bitcoin terms, right? So you got this like second layer that you have to keep track of, your up or down. So if you're 100% up in Ethereum, but Ethereum's down 50% in Bitcoin, you see what I mean? So Bitcoin's like as much as possible, I like to measure everything in Bitcoin terms, because it's the big dog. Nonya Business. New tweet from Charlie Lee. Very interesting. Let's check it out. Charlie Lee made a new tweet. What did he tweet about? Looks kind of vague, right? Maybe he's got something in the works. I don't know. Charlie, his humor is kind of like, you know, it's computer geek humor. If he does announce something, though, you know, the thing about Charlie, you got to understand, like, he's got stuff in the works, and you know, so he might have something he's alluding to, maybe something that's going to be announced. You just never know with that guy. But I will respect the fact that he does a lot on the engineering side, and you know, I got to give him props. They were the first to do SegWit, and they're working actively on Lightning, the Lightning atomic swaps, and that's why I think that's why I think Litecoin's undervalued. So if he has some kind of announcement that he's alluding to there, yeah, we could get to 120 real fast. I think Litecoin, like some of these others, if they get a deal made, or if there's a big announcement as far as being a payment processor, you're going to see a big pop, which I would probably sell out of initially and wait for a nice pullback. Yeah, I have heard of Raiden. I will be doing a video on that next week, so you'll have my thoughts then. Yeah, some people get irritated with Charlie Lee because they feel like he doesn't promote Litecoin as much, and he kind of is of the mind that, you know, that's what Litecoin Foundation is for, and his Twitter is just, he's a fan of crypto. So could my 22-year-old live at home, doesn't want to go to college, do mining, or do you need to be advanced? What do you recommend? I recommend him go to bitcoinwisdom.com, pull up the Bitcoin mining calculator, and punch in all the variables. You have hardware costs, you have electrical costs, so you need to see what's out there. You have to take into account the difficulty level, how much difficulty changes when it changes every couple of weeks. There's a lot to, there's a lot of variables that you need to hone in. So you have to do it on a fairly large scale to be able to make a living off of mining. And at that point, doing it at your home, what if one of the rigs catches fire? You have things like that to consider. All right, guys, so one last thing I will let you guys know, because I'm getting asked, is that if you go to tradegeniusacademy.com, that's not .co, it's .com. Sorry. Basically, we're running specials through, I think, tonight, and so it's all these, take your pick. If you want just the signal, this one here would get you the binary option and the crypto signal service and the chat room. Okay, so that's for a year. I think you guys would find that extremely worth it. I know a lot of the guys in the room can tell you that. The amount of information that flows in there is hard to keep up with. Crypto is always changing, but it's a very active room. So anyway, I just wanted to put that out there, guys. You can go there. These expire tonight. So unless you guys have any other questions, we will be wrapping this up. TradingView first tier pro account, worth it for casual investor swing trader? Yes, it is. Yeah, do the Black Friday 60%. I recommend that. Definitely. I think for swing trading, it gives you enough of the tools. They limit the amount of indicators that you have. I definitely go to the pro level, and at that price, no brainer for me. It's a great charting package, awesome charting package, one of my favorites. So yeah, do that. The free one actually will work for the signal. So you want this Trade Genius, like for example, here's an hourly. Okay, so the signal went long at 84.19. Now we're still long here up at 8,700. That's free. That you can use that on the free. If you take the course or you learn how we chart, that you're gonna want the pro level package. That'll add more ability. Things like this volume profile where it shows the volume bars on the side. That's a you can only get that on a pro level package. I think Pro Plus actually. But I like to see that because I like to see the levels in which where the volume is. See, like here, these are all what you call volume nodes. So it's 2400. I think that level's gone forever. 4400. Those were like periods of large accumulation. This is on a weekly. And then we've got these smaller ones where it's been accumulated 50, 6,000, 7,000. So those are going to be like your support levels. So that's what, paying up will get you that kind of an indicator on the Pro Plus. But it's not necessary for our software. It'll run on the free version. All right, guys, gonna wrap it up. Thanks for watching, and please subscribe to our channel, hit that like button, and like I said, we got videos coming out every day. Crypto is so dynamic; you literally do need to do a video like every day because it's just constantly changing. It's pretty wild, but we're looking at probably one of the greatest wealth transfers we're ever gonna see in our lifetimes. So you're in the early adoption phase. I know Bitcoin is at nearing 9,000. But I think next year you're going to look back on this and probably kick yourself for not getting some. And as well, there's going to be some great altcoin plays too, and we focus on that in the room and stuff like that. So, you know, look forward to seeing you guys in the room. Other than that, thanks for watching, guys. Take care. Have an awesome weekend, and I'll see you in the next video put out tomorrow. All right, guys. Take care.